Hi there guys, once again it's me David here on my channel. Last video I covered the suggestibility test, magnetic fingers. Well, I actually forgot to say at the beginning, and I should have done, very remiss of me, but I'll apologise right now in case any other hypnotists jump on me and start saying how wrong I was. Remember always the ecology of your client, subject, whatever. So before any of these tests, always make sure they're safe. It almost goes without saying, which is why I forgot in the first place. So before you actually attempt any of these tests, always make sure you say to your subject or client, you remain safe at all times. If they're standing, your feet will remain firm and you will not fall over. If they're sitting, you say you remain in your chair and you will not fall out of your chair. Some hypnotists like to use the old, pretend seatbelt idea, which is quite good, but however you do it, make sure you remain aware of the fact that their safety is your priority there. So it's paramount that you remain safe at all times, apart from anything else, lawsuits, etc. But your primary concern is their safety. We're not here to hurt people or anything like that, so keep it in mind. So before you attempt any of these suggestibility tests, even though they are just fairly innocuous tests and exercises, generally speaking, people will not fall over doing them. But it's been known and it can happen, so be aware and make sure you just tell your client that in the first place. The unconscious mind will do the rest. Okay, so that covered, we'll assume every time we do these tests that we say this beforehand. Now on the last one I did cover the magnetic fingers, and a couple of people offline asked me the question, well, how do you sort of embroider on that and make it a bit more interesting? It's kind of quick and boring at times, but if you can embroider on it a bit like this, so if the fingers are up like this and you've opened the fingers and you're then telling the client to watch between the gap, and the fingers will come tighter and tighter together, you can click like this. I can do left-handed as well, or you could do things like rotate your finger around theirs to encourage the fingers to come closer. It's kind of theatre, if you like. Every time you hypnotise somebody, there's an element of theatre about it. Pantomime, if you like to call it that, which is what Carl Smith tends to say, and an expression I actually love, pantomime. So you're creating a show for that person who you're hypnotising. So you can click your fingers to encourage that action. Rotate your fingers around theirs as if it's like some people say it's like a cotton that they're putting around the fingers to make it tighter. Some people even do I'm going to bring your fingers closer like this, wind them closer and closer. Some even put their fingers either side and encourage it that way. Again, it's all unconscious. It just triggers something in the person's mind to make it happen. But actually, most times, 95% of the time, they will actually do it on their own without even any attempt. But it's an element of theatre, like I said. It shows a bit of pantomime and theatre and drama, if you like, put it that way. And it instills in them the feeling that you're doing this and not them, which is the whole point. That you're instilling a belief in them that you're making this happen, and you are by doing the whole theatre thing. So there's a couple of things you can remember as well. Your language can be as flowery as you like. It can be as simple and direct as you like, as long as it's working and they believe it's working and they believe you're doing it, then that's the main thing. Okay, great. Now we're going to move on to today, suggestibility test number 2, which I like to do after the fingers. Some people prefer it the other way around. That's if you do more than one. If you do 2, maybe even 3, this would be the second one. For me anyway, some people do it first. It's the hand lock. So what we do is we tell our client to extend their arms out in front of them like this. Here's where the jokes come in, folks. Not invented by me, but I'll say it anyway. Extend their arms about 6 inches apart. Hands straight out in front of them like this. Hands tightly clamped together. Thumbs on top. Make sure their palms are touching and the arms are out straight. And then you tell them to imagine their hands are clamped tightly together. Imagine they're becoming like a solid block of concrete, glued together by the world's strongest super glue. Becoming like a block of wood, solid, any language you want, anything that you would see as a solid mass of hands and fingers. And you can use different ones. It's actually better if you do use various descriptions, because the unconscious mind will, it's different for everybody. So what they see as a solid block of something isn't necessarily what you see as a solid block of something. So a piece of concrete to me might not be what a block of concrete looks like to somebody else. So you can use wood, glue, concrete, anything that sticks, locks, bonds together. So your hands are now locked, bonded, glued together, and you repeat it. Locked, bonded, glued together like a solid block of concrete, like a solid block of wood, unable to come apart. Imagine it in your head. Imagine it now. Imagine it now. Then, once they are imagining it, once you've said that a few times and it's locked in their mind, you can see them imagining it, focusing on the hands and especially the thumb on top, focusing, imagining. When I tell you, not just yet, when I tell you, your hands will not be able to come apart. No matter how much you try to pull them apart, you cannot pull them apart. You can try as much as you like. Imagine your hands locking tight together now, like a solid bar, like a solid concrete. All those things, just keep on. And then say in a moment, when I say try to pull them apart, you will not be able to. You find your hands stuck together. And that's what will happen. You say, now try to pull them apart. Try, go on, try. Now they've imagined it so long that there's a solid block of concrete that their hands are now stuck in their head, which is amazing. Okay, so they'll go like that. For a moment, you let them try to pull them apart. Then you say, stop trying. Now, that's the key. If you leave them to attempt it for too long, they will do it. So a few seconds maybe, try to pull them apart. And their face will change. You'll see their face smile or bewilderment. That's when you say, okay, stop trying. Once they've realised that they can, if they wanted to, pull them apart, they will. But for those brief 1 or 2 seconds, you've said to them, try to pull them apart, and they can't, then they'll have this bewildered look on their face, and they'll keep on, like this. Now, once you say, okay, stop trying, then you can say now, again, embroidering on this idea, you can say, okay, now when I touch them, they'll come apart easily. Touch them on top and they'll pull their hands apart. Again, they'll think it's you that did that. In fact, it's them, which is amazing. Or you can touch the head. When I touch your head, you'll pull your hands apart quite easily. Again, there are a couple of nuances you can put on top of that if you wanted to. Now, there's a couple of things I've found. Maybe it's not everyone's found the same thing. A couple of things to make it even better and even more dramatic and even easier. It may work for you, it may not. Try it yourself. But I found that instead of putting your hands out in front, instead of putting their hands out in front like this, move back a bit, I found if you get to lock their fingers here in front of them, like this, you get a tighter lock. That's just me. Maybe, it's going to be itchy nose, maybe that's just me, but I found that when I do it, when I put my hands together like this, I get a tighter lock. And I bring my hands up like this, then extend the hands. Okay, so they're doing the prayer, like we spoke about in the magnetic fingers. They do this first in front of them, like this, then say, lock your palms together, elbows in, then extend their hands. I found you get a much tighter hand lock in the first place. So the whole idea of concrete, wood, steel bolts through them, etc., glue, any of these expressions you want to use, I found that it makes a much tighter bond and a much more believable bond, excuse me. So that's something else you might want to try. Again, that's something I've just found myself. Some people even do it above the head, like this first of all, and extend, which is another way. So again, the outline is the same for all of it. It's still, you're still locking their hands together, saying the words, etc., etc. But how you enter that state is up to you. Okay, you're the hypnotist, and you've got to be congruent all the time that you are the hypnotist. This is going to work. This is how you're going to do it. Also, the whole aspect of making them do something is them giving you the yes and the confirmation that they're willing to try it, which is great. Another aspect of this is another little nuance you could try is once you've got the lock and the hands are in front. Again, this makes it even more positive. Get them to bend their hands down slightly. They can still see their thumbs on top, but what happens here is, if I can show you in front of the camera, instead of just that, the arms are slightly, you can't quite see it, but the arms are slightly bent there. So you want them to actually lock their hands, lock their arms out like a steel bar, which is something else we'll come to later on. Steel bar time. So, but when you point their hands down, if I can quite show you, if you point the hands down, you might watch the elbows come up at the same time. Can you see that? So just your hands out front like this, but if you point your hands downwards, you'll find the elbows come up. I'm sure you can see that. Now this also, at the same time, it locks their elbows, and actually it's locking my shoulder blades in place as well. Again, try it yourself, you'll see the effect. And this is what your subjects can be feeling when you tell them to do this stuff. So you've told them to do this, you've told them to do that, you've said point your hands down. That's 3 times they've complied with your instruction. Great, fantastic. So arms out straight, palms down slightly. They can still see their thumb, but their elbows are locked now. You can probably see my posture now. And of course, when you say to them, your hands are now locked in place, my God, they really are, to all intents and purposes. And when you say try to pull them apart, it's much more difficult to actually do the pull apart. Some clever people, they peel their hands like this, which is not quite the same as tearing them apart like this, is it? But some clever ones, they'll start peeling their hands apart at the palm. But again, it's that 1 or 2 seconds where you say, okay, try, then you stop trying, and that's the belief then. Okay. I wanted to say something else about this as well. Once you've done the fingers, this is your point. You've got compliance from them. They're doing everything you want them to do. Once they're here, you can either, again, this will take a bit of time to understand this. With practice, you'll notice the face changing. You'll notice the eyes flickering, etc., etc. And the compliance, it takes practice. It doesn't happen overnight, but it takes practice. You might find that once they're in this position and they've got their hands locked, they're concentrating, you might find, if you look at their face, don't just look at their hands and be totally amazed at yourself that it's working. Look at their face as well. They're your client or your subject. Look at their face. You might find at this point, when their hands are like this and they're locked, that their face is telling you they're in the zone. They're so fixed on that thing, you could do anything with them. So you can, at that point, instead of saying unlock your hands, you can just say, okay, close your eyes, but keep imagining your fingers there. And at that point, they'll close their eyes, and you know that they've now done 3 things. They've complied with 3 things you've said to do. And then you say close your eyes. That's the 4th thing they're complying with. They're hypnotized from that point on. So you can then just say sleep. So the hands are locked, you close their eyes, you go sleep, or sleep now, whatever you want to say. Again, it may work for you, it may not, but it takes practice. And the first time it happens, you'll think you are the king of the world, a superhuman, if you like. And more to the point, they'll think you're superhuman too for doing it. So I hope that helps. I will cover more of the locking type effects later on, but that's it for today. Really hope you enjoyed what you've seen today, and I hope I haven't waffled on too much. Any questions, as always, the comments are here, and if you want to subscribe and like, I'd love that too. It's very early on for my channel, but I hope to explain these things in the simplest way possible, demystifying it, if you like. When I first became a hypnotist, I had tried and tried for quite some time. Try and course means failing, so I don't use the word try anymore. But I had read books and I had studied what I thought was the correct way to do things, but I was blind. It just didn't happen for me. But because I did find that most things were written in a mystical way. It was almost like a foreign language to me. So I want to try and demystify these things so anyone can do this stuff, have success with it and make it their own. So I hope that helps. All right. So that's it for now. And I will see you in my next video, which will be very soon, hopefully. So once again, happy hypnotizing. See ya.